All right, party peoples of the interwebs, whatever you say about capital D Democrats and the blue checkmark Mockingbird media, they do not lack creativity or malevolence. The buzzword that is going through the news today, that is trending, hashtagging, whatever, cheap fakes. It's not like Cheap Thrills, that DVD store that we used to have up in Montreal. Cheap fakes. It rhymes with deep fakes because it's persuading you into thinking that there's something equally fake about cheap fakes as there is about deep fakes. What is cheap fakes? Well, according to CBS News, it's anything that's taken out of context. Any video clip that is digitally altered, even if the digitally altered is merely cropping in an image, something taken out of context.
Probably heard of deep fakes, but just last week, as President Biden was at the G7 summit in Italy, cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets. Take a look at this clip, for example. It shows Biden and other world leaders watching a skydiving demonstration before the president is seen walking away and looking in another direction. Outlets claimed that he was sort of just aimlessly wandering away. The clip amassed millions of views within just a few hours, when actually if you widen out, you can see that he was talking to one of the members of the military that was participating in that demonstration.
No. No.
So how prevalent are cheap fakes? And how big of a problem will they be in this election? Well, let's take a look with executive editor of CBS News Confirmed, Rona Tarrant, who joins us now from Studio 57 to explain. Hi, Rona. It's great to see you.
Hi. Something taken out of context is now being branded as a cheap fake, as in it's a cheap deep fake, as in it's related to a deep fake, except it's not a deep fake. It's just something taken out of context. You know, like what the media has been doing forever, especially as relates to Donald Trump, the fine people hoax, that little segment of a speech that he gave that they claim confirms that Donald Trump referred to white nationalist Nazis as very fine people. You know, the injecting bleach soundbite that they took out of context. You know, those types of cheap fakes are now what they're referring to as what is being done to Joe Biden. You know, when Joe Biden decides to meander off from where the action is at a G7 summit, when paragliders are landing and telling them about what they are doing, and Joe Biden meanders off into the distance, looking nowhere, just meandering to the point where Giorgia the Italian prime minister, has to go grab him by the arm and say, "No, old man, this is where the polite people are hanging out, listening to the paraglider telling us about what's going on." CBS News is now claiming that these are cheap fakes. Karine Jean-Pierre, the professional liar, and a bad one at that, is now getting up, leaning her shoulder and saying, "These are cheap fakes and they're taken out of context," and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos, and it is, again, done in bad faith.
First of all, that video of Joe Biden was not taken out of context, watched in its context in its entirety. And I know because I found it and I published it and it went quasi-viral, watched in its entirety. It's even more shocking than the digitally altered, short, cheap fake of Joe Biden. In context, it's even worse because in addition to him meandering around, apparently talking to a paratrooper or whomever is on the ground there, that's not even acknowledging Joe Biden's existence, he then goes back to the crowd and like Weekend at Bernie's, except the edition where they electrified his corpse so that he can actually move a little bit, he puts his sunglasses on. Do the thing with the sunglasses, Dark Brandon. In context, it's even more horrifying. But these people in the media are talking about cheap fakes. What is it? Digitally altering something minorly to take an actual clip but make it look somewhat different, to tell a story that it didn't actually tell. Oh, you mean exactly like what CNN did to Joe Rogan by altering the color of his face to make him look sicker than he looked when he was recovering from COVID? You mean things like that?
And turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything.
On the one hand, people are saying this is just Operation Mockingbird 2.0, except for the fact that media is now no longer recruited by intelligence. They do it voluntarily. They're saying this is just the Mockingbird media covering for decrepit, senile old Joe. I think it's a little more sinister than that. You will recall that back in the 2020 election, they criminalized memery. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. They literally criminalized memes. Douglas Mackey, Ricky Vaughn on Twitter, the known meme master troll on Twitter, he was convicted of putting up a meme that said something to the effect of save the lines, skip the lines, text in your vote to Hillary 77877. A clear meme. The only people dumb enough to fall for it is nobody, because apparently nobody even fell for it. And by the way, double standard much? There's that other comedian who had a video identical to that where she told Trump supporters to vote on November 9th, the day after the election. Her video's still on the internet. She never faced any charges. She was never convicted. Douglas Mackey, convicted. So they criminalized memery. Right now, I have a feeling they're going to go into criminalizing cheap fakes. They are going to move to criminalize cheap fakes, taking anything out of context, arguably, allegedly, even if it's not. They're going to call it disinformation. They're going to call it election interference. They are going to try to criminalize or somehow forbid cheap fakery, even though they are the ones that are guilty of having done it for decades. They did it with Trump more times than I can count. Oh my goodness, the sun is out. They've done it more times than I can count with Donald Trump. But that is where this is going. It's not about only covering for Sleepy Joe now. I still do not believe he's going to be on the ticket, and I have placed a bet on Gavin Newsom on Predicted. It's not only about covering for Joe Biden now. It is about controlling disinformation, outlawing, criminalizing cheap fakes, anything that they have been doing for the last decades. They're going to now criminalize and outlaw and try to get people censored, kicked off of social media, and potentially even worse for cheap fakery. Mark my words. Now, it is Thursday, as at the time of shooting this vlog. I am getting ready to head behind the Iron Rainbow of Canada, so wish me luck, but on our way up there, I am going to see Blink 182 in Orlando. Some people are looking at me like I'm the coolest dad on earth, taking my kids to Blink 182. I'm using my kids as an excuse to go watch Blink 182. Yes, I disagree vehemently with the politics of Tom DeLonge, but this is one of those cases where the politics of the artist is not enough to destroy the quality of their music. Yes, I love Blink 182. Call me whatever names you like. It's Thursday as at the time of shooting this vlog. Tomorrow there will be the decisions, possibly on the immunity coming out of SCOTUS, so stay tuned for that. I'll do my best to do some live streams, do some short vlog updates. But if you like what I do, you know what to do. Make sure that you are subscribed, have your notifications turned on. If you like what I do, drop a comment in the comment section when I post a video. And if you don't like what I do, drop a thumbs down. I don't care. Just let me know why you're doing it. But more important than anything, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life. And I got a show to go to, people. Booyah!